I have some ideas, but I'm also guessing that the people attending here may have some ideas that you use in your Cursillo or other Forte community. And that I would be interested in hearing those, and I hope the other people who are in attendance would be interested in hearing those. So there will be opportunity for quite a bit of interaction there at the end. Okay, so all right, everybody's saying okay. I think I will kick us off as Bob said. Well, welcome here. And this meeting is going to be recorded and available later on for people who are unable to make it today. And if you know how to change your name on screen to also indicate where you're from, that could be helpful. If you're from Michigan, or you're from Southeast Florida, or wherever you are, that may help. If that's a problem for you, don't worry about it. It's not a major thing. Okay. And let's see. All right. So I am going to. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to begin the screen share here.
Go back.
If I can ask everyone to mute, please, if so Kevin can present during the session. Thank you.
All right. And particularly here where we're talking about, we're all going to say the opening prayer together, and it would sound, I don't know what it would sound like with this many people on board, but I'll say it and you can say it along with me from home while you're on mute. Come, Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of your faithful and kindle in us the fire of your love. Send forth your Spirit, and we shall be created, and you shall renew the face of the earth. O God, who by the light of the Holy Spirit did instruct the hearts of the heart, grant that by the same Holy Spirit, we may be truly wise and ever enjoy in his consolation through Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Okay. There we go.
Mackerel.
All right, so yes, this is 30. I didn't count them, and I'm not sure exactly. It's less than I have presented before. Just on the right there, you see some of the affiliations I've had, and I've lived different places and worked in different communities, including Episcopal Cursillo and Kairos Prison Ministry and Walk to Emmaus and Via de Cristo, a little bit here in Oregon. And in April, I'm going to be going to the Chicagoland area to work on a Presbyterian pilgrimage. So if I were a baseball player, they would say I'm working on hitting for the cycle. It means I've been around. I guess that's the long and the short of it. What I would like to do with you today is to share some ideas that secretariats can consider doing, some ideas for what Cursillistas or Forte people can do, and then some ideas specific to weekends. And they'll sort of be interspersed. They won't be clearly delineated. If you have a camera, if you have a cell phone that has a camera on it, keep it handy, because at one point I'm going to ask you to pull up to practice capturing a QR code and see where it takes you. Okay, that's kind of what we're going for. So first thing to consider is on your website, and I'm assuming that everybody's movement has a website, is getting people to write short accounts of what their Cursillo or experience has meant to them, very briefly. And there are a couple of places that you can go to look at that. You're going to get a copy of this presentation, so don't worry about writing down links and that kind of stuff. But this is one from the United Kingdom, the first one there, and the second one is a link from the San Diego Episcopal Cursillo folks. Just a brief things about what Cursillo has meant to somebody, because sometimes that can mean more, I think, than what just a description of a Cursillo. The second thing you think about doing is maybe having some recordings of people who've attended Cursillo, and again, asking them to reflect about what the experience has meant to them. We have some videos on the National Episcopal Cursillo Ministry website where people are doing that. And we also, in Oregon, I did a Zoom session with a couple of young participants where they talk about what it was like for them to go through, because we wanted to make sure that people didn't think this was only for baby boomers. In doing those interviews with the young women, I used some questions. If you'd like to see some questions, you can think about asking people. If you go to that website on the bottom, you can get access to them. They're stored on I put a lot of stuff on the Oregon website because it was easy for me to put things there that'd be accessible for you folks. Also, to list group reunions that are happening in your area by where they're happening, time, date, who's there, and who ought to be contacted. This I stole from the Fox Valley Walk to Emmaus in Wisconsin. So just making it very clear where things are going on. Having a Cursillo sing-along. A lot of people like the music that they hear at Cursillo, and it may be useful to give them an opportunity to hear that, and an extended version of it. We're just going to sit around and sing songs together. You can use songbooks. You can put stuff up on PowerPoint slides. You can let people request songs in advance that they'd like to make sure get sung. I stole this idea from the Diocese of Mississippi, where they had something like this after a convention. All right. If you want to see their little flyer, that's at the bottom there. Oop, I'm hearing somebody talking. Can we mute? Everybody make sure they're on mute. All right. That's a sing along. That one of the things I see a number of places doing is having each congregation have a Cursillo parish representative, somebody who is the point of contact between the Secretariat and the Cursistas in the congregation, who may not all be getting emails, who may not all be part of the Facebook group. You can see a nice example of that at the Alabama Cursillo website that I show there. Interesting enough, in Marin, they actually have quarterly meetings of the CPRs to kind of talk, how are things going? Anybody running any difficulties or good things that you're hearing about? And if you want to see a very extensive guide to being a Cursillo parish representative from a Roman Catholic perspective, the link on the bottom will take you to that. It's about 75 pages worth of stuff there, so it really details it out. If your secretariat is not already using, and when I say secretariat, I mean your council, your whoever kind of directs your operations there. I'll use secretariat because that's the term I'm most familiar with there. If you don't have a Google Drive or a Dropbox set up, I would highly recommend doing that, where you can put in things like the rector's manual and scripts that people have, and minutes and your bylaws, and scanned in database forms for people who have participated in your community. Forms, flyers, music. It can be a place for musicians to put a master copy so that other people can get it. And one of the things that you can do, at least in Google Drive, is limit access to particular folders. So you wouldn't necessarily want everybody to have access to the database forms. You can restrict that. Surveying. Surveying can be helpful. And Google Forms is one way to do that for free. The first listing there that I have is a survey that we did back when COVID was going, about people's willingness to sponsor when COVID was kind of still in the air. We ended up we did it in 2021. We ended up not having a weekend that year. But you can take a look and see what the questions were, and then it'll give you tabulations for what your data looks like. I understand SurveyMonkey is an alternative that's oftentimes used. What you do is it generates a link. You can get a web link to your survey, and then you send that out to your email list or post it in your Facebook. You can also survey teams for if you have questions of them. We've used it for voting online for our Secretariat, because we're a big territory here. At the bottom is a survey that we're doing nationally of Episcopal Cursillo folks. All right. QR codes, quick response codes. I love these things. I kind of discovered them 6 months ago. Yeah, about that. And slap them on everything now. So at the top of the screen there, you see a very long address for one of the documents at our on the website. So if you take that long, very long one, the https oregoncursillo.org, blah, blah, blah. If you go to the website tinyurl.com, sign up there for free. You can pop that long one in and transform it to a shorter one, which becomes the second line that you see there, the https tinyurl.com/ECM survey QR. And that will take you to a poster that has a sign-up sheet for both our national email list and our national and survey, or QR codes on it. That QR code that you see there, the squares and all the dots, again, created by tinyurl for free. You can put that, and okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Where are QR codes good? They're good on flyers. They're good at conferences and conventions. Just put them on a poster, a little flyer, stick it up in a plastic holder, set it on a table, and people can come by and pull out their phones. They don't take a picture of it, but a little URL link will appear. We'll give you a chance to practice that here. But I also, in addition to using a QR code, I also advocate giving a shortened URL, because sometimes people don't want to go right there right now. But if they take a picture of what it is, then later on they can pull that picture up and then type in the URL if you've got a nice short one. All right, and you can also project a QR code up onto a screen, have people pull out their phones, and then connect to it via that. And all of a sudden you're able to connect with hundreds of people all at once. Scheduling, difficult in this day and age, saying, I'd like to have a meeting. When should we have it? I like to use Doodle, because Doodle, the person who's originating the meeting, can say, these are the times that I have available. Let's see who can make these meetings. And then you send out the link to your particular Doodle poll. Again, this is done for free. And people indicate, these are the times I can make. These are times I cannot make. And they even give you an option to say, well, this isn't a great time for me. I hope it's not this one that gets picked, but I could if I need to. And then you can tally them up. The next sheet is going to show you kind of what the output looks like. So we were looking to schedule a retreat for our Secretariat here. And I created the Doodle poll saying, well, do you want it to be September 28th, October 12th, November 2nd, November 11th, or November 23rd? Those are all the times that work for me. Then you can see the names of people in our Secretariat checking things out, say, yep, this works for me, this works for me, or this doesn't work for me, where you see Larry on the third line there, he's got X's saying the only date that really worked for him was the November 2nd one, the middle one. And it also gives you a tally as to which dates work best for people. So you can see 9 people said that the 23rd was a fine date for them, and 9 people said that the 2nd was a fine date for them. Very easy, avoids trying to go back and forth. You can specify times as well, not just dates. Okay. If your secretary doesn't have a database form, you need one to collect information. I picked this up in Northern California. They have people fill it out at lunch on Sunday of the Cursillo. But bring it to Ultreas, bring it anywhere there's a gathering, bring it to Day of Deeper Understanding, whatever. You get some demographic information. Let them write in their gender, whatever it may be, their year of birth. Use letterboxes for their email, so whoever's looking at it will be able to really read them. Layer, clergy, indicate those things. What they've done previously in Cursillo, we asked what they've done previously, what they'd like to do. Maybe they like to do Arroyo. Maybe they like to be on cook team. Maybe they like to be on music team. Are they interested in Kairos prison ministry? And then if they are, we share that information with Kairos of Oregon here. You can see an example of what the Cursillo, Oregon Cursillo version looks like by going to the link down there at the bottom. The 5th day. This is where you rest in peace and glory. I think it's going to be more than just lying around somewhere. What's the fifth day? If you don't know what it is already, it's the day after the fourth day has ended, when our earthly existence is no longer, and we're with the Lord. I would encourage you to promulgate that understanding, to put that, if you have a list of definitions, Cursillo definitions that you put out in your pilgrim packet when they attend a weekend, to use that, and create a form that people can use to let their survivors know that Cursillo was a part of their life, and that they'd like the Cursillo community to be notified when that happens. Let's see, I think I'm gonna, no, I'm not, I was gonna show you, but I'll let you explore it, but it's very simple. It just says, to whoever finds this, please let the Cursillo community know. And I'd like to make a donation of, however many dollars they'd like to donate, signed, dated, all that kind of stuff. And to build a culture where when somebody passes away in the Cursillo community, to get that notice out there, what time services are going to be, probably even creating like a Facebook event. We create Facebook events when somebody passes away so that people will be aware of that. And to build a culture where people say, this is part of the Cursillo family. So when someone passes away, show up for it. All right. Y'all know about Ultreas. I just want to talk briefly about when you do an online Ultrea. It's a good thing for people who don't travel well, travel far. You can use the breakout room feature for floating group reunions. You can use live musicians, or you can use YouTube videos for music. Many times those include lyrics for people singing along. Don't record them, or don't try and post them. I don't know who would try and post something like that, but it would work there. Be sure, you just want to make sure you've got your Zoom optimized for sound. And just, if you don't know how to do that, Google it. You can drop lyrics into the chat. I've done that, or sometimes drop them into a share screen mode. And you can use share screen for putting in the prayer of the Holy Spirit like we just did, for the questions that you'd find on the floating group reunion card. You get 40 minutes for free. Most Ultreas take longer than that in my experience. And be sure to have everybody introduce themselves, where they live and where and when they did their Cursillo. This is an interesting idea that I stole from Northern California. They had people pledge to say that when they were starting up a new Ultrea, they said, would you commit to attending at least for the first 12 months? So don't just come 2 times and then say, oh, I don't know anybody. Say, yes, I'm willing to come for 12 months here to try and get this thing going on. All right. Music. I sometimes hear the music of Cursillo criticized because it's all baby boomers, Peter, Paul, and Mary, or whatever the equivalent would be of wherever you're from. Somebody said that the 1970s called and they want their music back. Many of the songs that we do have been around a long time, and especially when we think about people who are younger, who that's ancient history to them. We may want to include some newer things there. It's tough for Episcopalians because we don't hear contemporary Christian music in our services, and most people are not listening to contemporary Christian music on radio, and a lot of it is not great music. There are a couple of music copyright organizations that may be a source for doing this. One is CCLI, that's the more contemporary Christian music. One license is the Copyright Clearance Organization that handles more of the music that you might hear in church, more from contemporary liturgical churches, Roman Catholic, Lutheran, Methodist, Episcopalian. You can also find songs at this website here called New Song Cafe, or by looking them up on YouTube. All right. Where else can you get ideas about finding more recent music, newer music? There's a hymnal called Glory and Praise. On Spotify, you can find the 20 albums that are part of it via those links there. Passion Movement has been something around for the last 25 years that has some newer music that's quite popular with a lot of folks. at the Worship Together playlist. That's another one you can check. And if your musicians don't know about it already, tell them to join the Fourth Day Musicians Facebook group, tinyurl.com/fourthdaymusicians. It's a private group. What's said there doesn't get added to their Facebook feed, and it's a place for musicians to kind of trade information there. What else can you use Spotify for? I love Spotify. My daughter told me about Spotify, and it's one of the nicest things I think she ever did for me. You can use Spotify to create a playlist of songs in order to teach a team that's going to be working a weekend new songs. There's an example there of one I put together here in Oregon. Musicians can use it to teach each other songs. And I haven't seen anybody try this idea, but you might even create a Spotify playlist to teach your incoming pilgrims the music before they attend a weekend. I just would hope that if you did that, that they wouldn't show up saying, hey, you're singing all the songs wrong. Wait, you're supposed to have a big brass section here, or where are the drums? But definitely for team and for people who've been through Cursillo. We actually have a listing at our website of a playlist. All right, sponsor education. Sponsors, that's a big job. One of the things I've seen people do is talk about having a sponsor education session that happens long before the weekend, just telling them the basics, not even for people who definitely have a candidate, but how to go about doing it. Here's what being a sponsor is like. Here's what you will be doing. And to just remind them that when somebody says no, that doesn't mean everyone will say no, and that doesn't mean that the person will say no forever. There are plenty of fish in the sea. I think Jesus said something like that. Recruiting. I'm assuming that this is a worldwide need. We need more and younger clergy to participate in Cursillo. We have a lot of retired clergy. We need more and younger clergy. So if you have a seminary in your area, see if you can get some connection for Cursillos in that area to reach out to them and maybe offer to sponsor them. I would encourage you to let seminarians fly free, let them attend at no charge. If your secretariat can't handle that expense, contact the National Episcopal Cursillo Ministry, because we have made some funds available to people in the past and are willing to do that to facilitate seminarians being able to attend. If you have seminarians, try and get them to Cursillo either where they're doing it or back home. Maybe they're coming and you can get them involved where you are. If you have some kind of diaconal formation or educational program in your area that operates in your diocese, try and get the director of that to Cursillo if they haven't been already, and then let that person encourage people who are attending to attend Cursillo. And getting retired clergy to reach out to their younger colleagues to say, hey, you thought about Cursillo, I think you'd be great, it'd be great for you, and I can even help you find some coverage on the Sunday that you would be gone. And sometimes secretariats will offer money to cover supply clergy who come in and officiate, if that's an issue. How else can you find newer, younger folks? In the USA, we have what's called the Episcopal Service Corps, which is for recent college graduates. There are 7, I think, locations operating in the country. Go to that website, find out if they're in your area, and then reach out to them and say, hey, come check this out. These are people who already have some spirituality at a very young age, 23, 24, whatever they are. See if you can entice them into attending, and then we'll have them for the next 50 years. If you can find people who've done Teens Encounter Christ or Happening, that would be good. If you can talk to your diocesan youth ministers about Cursillo, try and get them to attend if they haven't been. In a lot of cases, they probably have been. If there are people who are leaving their ministry, they're leaving youth ministry and going off to college or something, keep them in mind, finding out about how to reach them. Okay. On campus, what do you do? Again, reach out to the campus ministers, see if you can get them to attend Cursillo so they know what they're talking about that. And then be sure that you're reaching out and getting publicity there. Their parents may have gone to Cursillo. Their grandparents may have gone to Cursillo. They've heard some things about it. Sometimes they have time to attend. You do want to think about scheduling your weekends, probably not during final exams week, or maybe right before late September, early September may be a time where people would not necessarily be in school. In the Episcopal Church at one time, Vocari was fairly widespread. I thought it was gone, but I stand corrected. I found out it's going on in Alabama and Upper South Carolina, and there may be other places there. All right. Where else can you recruit people? At diocesan convention and events, have a Cursillo table, put a banner up, sign up lists. I'd like to go. I'd like to be on team. I'd like to be a sponsor. Have database there forms for people who are already veterans, and always have chocolates sprinkled about, because that's the best bait for attracting people to come over to your table, if for no other reason that they want some of your chocolates. Here are the fishing lines. If we're going to be fishers of people, fishing lines that I thought were useful. The top one is the one that I use. Would you let Beth and me sponsor you to attend a Cursillo weekend that's coming up? We'd love to do it and think you'd have a great time. What do you know about Cursillo? You find out what they know. And then can I tell you what my experience has been? Somebody else liked to tell people, think about it this way. If you had a chance to experience a couple of days of what God really hopes a Christian community could be, all in all, would you want to experience that, or would you want to wait? You can also, if you have Kairos operating in your area, find out how to attend the closing of a Kairos, and then say, hey, come to this Kairos closing with me. It's an amazing experience, because it is. If you have not been to one of those, I would encourage everybody here to find out how to attend one of them. And Kairos basically builds itself off of people who participated in Fourth Day Communities, Cursillo, Walk to Emmaus, Via de Cristo. So that's a natural entryway there. And one of the things somebody mentioned to me is, don't call it co-ed Cursillo, because sometimes people think that means it's only for married couples to attend jointly, or that they have to be married and the husband goes first or the spouse goes second. So in Oregon, we take, this is a Cursillo for all adults. All right. Prayer vigils. Once upon a time, there was a website called 3 Day Online. That is no longer operating, but there's been a replacement, which is called prayervigils.net, at which you can register a weekend and put in time slots for people to pray. That you may well find you've got people praying from all over the world. You can also, I suppose you could, I heard some communities want to restrict it to just their community, and you would only publicize it to people within your community. Prayer Vigils also has the ability for you to upload your wall palanca to it and download wall palanca. I was just there recently, and they're having some problems with it. Not all of the wall palanca is available. You can get some of it, but not all of it out of it. Be sure your palanca person knows about this. And if you're just looking for somebody to pray, something to pray about, that's a place to go say, oh, these are the weekends that are some of the weekends that are operating this year. And when you're soliciting palanca from somebody, from the friends and family of somebody that you're going to sponsor, be sure to include the link to the prayer vigil in the letter that you send out to the people who you're going to ask to write palanca letters, to say, and this is where you can go to pray, to sign up to pray. They can put their name up there. And then the person will see their name. Oh, Uncle Joe was praying for me from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. on Friday morning. That's fantastic. All right. Be sure to list your events with the National Episcopal Cursillo Ministry, or whatever your national ministry is. We have an events page there where you can sign up and put your event in. Be sure that your palanca person is listed there. Or not listed, that your palanca person knows to go there to look for places where they can be sending wall palanca. You can also use that site for listing trainings, like maybe you're doing a Zoom training of some sort, that you're open to other people attending beyond your secretariat. You're doing a Cursillo leadership workshop, you're doing some sponsor training. If you got something to be of interest to people beyond just you, that would be a great place to list it. All right. In addition to getting, well, let's see, here may be the best places for getting wall Palanca, at least now. There is a Facebook group called 3-Day Palanca and Agape that somebody can sign up for it's a private group, so you have to ask to be admitted, but they let everybody in who wants to get in, where you can both, again, upload your wall Palanca and download what they have. There are about, I think, 200 people on it. So you'd be getting probably Palanca from 200 different secretariats. And you can also go to the Episcopal Cursillo Ministry events page, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you will see emails listed for all of the Palanca angels in all of the secretariats in the USA. So email all those people, say, hey, we have a weekend coming up. Would you be sure to send us your Palanca? All right, team training ideas. One of the things that I did a weekend, I led a weekend in 2022, and I don't know where I saw this, but we did an icebreaker that was one of those find somebody who bingo things, where find somebody who plays a musical instrument, find somebody who's left-handed, find somebody who grew up in a different state than the one you're in now. And I had one of the guys who hadn't participated in a weekend in a very long time, really didn't know people who were there very well at all. And he came to me afterward and said, hey, you know what? Thank you very much for doing that. It really allowed me to sort of connect with people here that it would have taken me a long time to get to know. At the first session, you may want to assign prayer partners to be praying for each other while the team is in session there and right up until the weekend. I'll throw out one controversial thought here. I'm in favor of banning bell stealing. Pilgrims that I have on the way back when I'm driving home say, how was the weekend? I ask, so how was the bell stealing? Most of the pilgrims tell me, man, it was kind of weird. It was a distraction. Stealing? I thought this was like a Christian thing. Why are people stealing? It was kind of an inside joke that they were not inside of. Controversial, I know. It seemed to work on my weekend. Let's see, sorry. You can also think about doing team trainings via Zoom or sub-teams, Palanca team. We did some training for Royistas with clergy reviewing people via Zoom. I would encourage not just to have clergy reviewing, but also the rector. And there are some places who have just a single team meeting about a month before a weekend where they go away to a place and spend a lot of time with each other. You hear all the royos, the music team gets a lot of practice. Everything gets worked out very well, and the team really does some bonding there. You can also look, here's a nod to our Canadian presence here, in the Western Anglican Cursillo. There's some research there about team training. All right, have a checklist that you distribute to everybody what they're supposed to bring, not leave behind. And for the team, things like sound system, altar linens, that stuff. I am sponsoring training closer to the weekend. These are people who are actually known to be sponsors. Zoom them up, tell them, hey, these are the details, the time, the date. You probably would send a letter to this effect, but there may be some questions that haven't been answered that you can help fill them in on. And if they're having any trouble getting Palanca, you can help them out with that. Getting Palanca, how do you get it? As soon as somebody says, yes, I will attend the weekend, I hand them a sheet asking for name, phone number, and email for people we can get to pray for them. And I need that back as soon as possible. Then I send out a form letter to those people saying, please look at this. Your friend is going to Cursillo. Here's what we'd like you to do. If you want to see an example of the sheet for getting that contact information, it's nothing fancy. Who do you ask? You can also ask, in addition to those people, Cursillistas in your congregation. If the person's from a different congregation, their congregation, you can ask non-Cursillistas in a congregation to pray. Say, hey, this person's going to Cursillo. We'd like you to pray for them. Would you? And send them a little note saying, hey, I heard you're on a Cursillo. Hope it's going great. I'm praying for you this weekend. Because they won't have the full impact of what that is like. And they may be people who become good candidates for the next Cursillo for inviting the next time around. And you can also have the Secretariat put out in an email the names and parishes of people who are going to be attending, so that people on the email list can send Blanca. This is an idea I stole from Walk to Emmaus. At check-in, you tell people, we're not going to talk about or discuss what our occupations, jobs, or prior careers were here during the weekend. I think it keeps people from getting into a hierarchy. People who are unemployed don't have to worry so much about explaining what they do or don't do. It lets clergy stay undercover if you've got clergy there. And we hope that makes people talk about deeper stuff. And you probably need to put up signs about that. And remember, we're not talking about current or prior careers or jobs. And then at lunch on Sunday, you say, oh, yeah, go ahead, now you can tell. Here's some ideas about piety in the 21st century, some links there. We talk about prayer and prayer books and that kind of stuff, just that there are apps out there and websites that are available now that I think ought to get at least as much time and attention. Forward Day by Day is a big one. Richard Rohr has an email. The U Bible has a zillions of downloads and zillions of apps. You can check these out. A guy I really like is the Reverend Brian Zond. He's a progressive Pentecostal who found the Book of Common Prayer. You can see about, he offers prayer conferences. You can get access to one of them at the first link there. He also has a little liturgy for morning prayer at that second link there. And he also has an app called Prayer Liturgy that you can check. Study in the 21st century. Here are some places you can go to. Virginia Theological Seminary has a series called Baptized for Life. Church Next has a bunch of videos that you pay $9 a month and you have unlimited access to them. You can also get it for a group of people, like I think it's up to 10 people who would all watch the same video for the same period of time. And a congregation can also get a license to it for more money than that. A guy I like is Andy Stanley. He has a series called Your Move. Interesting guy. Homebrew Christianity is a podcast. Again, interesting stuff there. Rule of Life is another one. At Clausura, these are Episcopal Cursillo does not have a tradition of having standardized questions. Roman Catholics, Walk to Emmaus, and Kairos Prison Ministry do. I like that idea of having something that people know what they're going to be responding to. So they actually put on a laminated sheet that's up at the podium that people will speak from. What's your name? Where do you live? What church do you go to? And then a selection of the following questions. What are these days meant to me? What did you find here? In what spiritual condition did you arrive here? What do you intend to do with it? You wouldn't give them all these questions, but you would pull out a subsample there to say, these are some questions we're hoping that you might address. How might you prevent loss of sheep and promote bonding? For a weekend, consider creating a Facebook group that's just for the sponsors, the pilgrims, and the team. I did this after, and you name it, Upper South Carolina Episcopal Seer number 143, July of 2023. That's totally made up. Don't go looking for it. Don't blame me if you can't find it. But I did this after my weekend. Unfortunately, I haven't paid as much attention to it as I could have or should have, but it may be a way of keep staying in touch with people. You still have people join the entire Secretariat Facebook, and be sure to put the group photo on that. Okay. We have a National Episcopal Cursillo Ministry Conference is coming up October 29th through Saturday, November 1st, 2025. Where's it going to be? Todd Hall Retreat Center in Columbia, Illinois. You've never heard of Columbia, Illinois. It's about 15 miles south of the Arch in St. Louis. So St. Louis would be your major metro area. Who's invited? Everybody. Bob, you want to jump in and say anything else there?
Yeah, thanks. Bob Vaughn. I'm currently serving as the president of ECMC, but also the point person for this conference. And want to invite you all to come. We're going to cover a lot of topics. We have inspirational speakers. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have praise. We're going to have a chance to worship together. But for more details, I invite you to go to the homepage of the Episcopal Cursillo Ministries, and you can get much more information there about all the details about when and where. The conference essentially starts with supper on Wednesday, October 29th, and runs through lunch on Saturday, November 1st. So for most participants, they'll be traveling and arriving on the 29th during the day in time to make the program, and then departing after lunch on Saturday. One of the key things is that we are working to provide free transportation from the airport, St. Louis International Airport, to the conference center. So you don't have to worry that part. So again, I invite you to come look at the homepage, and there's more information there. In addition, we're looking for your input on topics. And so you can do that. There's right on the homepage, there is a email address, or for every officer, including me, on our website, there is a email contact. So if you have inputs about topics, especially that you'd like to see addressed at this conference, please let us know. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. Good enough. As Bob was saying there, if you have ideas for topics that you'd like maybe addressed at that national conference, go ahead and shoot them off to him. There's his email address. And I told you to have your cameras at the ready. Pull it out. You got a camera. Open it up to or if you have a phone that has a camera in it, let me put it that way. Get your camera ready. You're not going to take a picture of this QR code, but just point your camera at it. And somewhere on your screen, you should probably see a tiny little yellow button there that's going to say tiny URL. And if you click on that, you will be taken to something that says Episcopal Cursillo Survey 2024 through 25, V1.1. If you've already done it, don't do it again. But if you haven't done that survey, I would much appreciate it if you would, because we're gathering information. We've got about 350 people who've done it. And I'm looking for more. I'd like to get to 500 on it. So you do it and then tell other people to do it as well. If you don't want to use the QR code to access it, by the way, it takes about 5 minutes to do. It's anonymous. We're not going to ask you to volunteer or for money. Okay, so if that makes it easier for you, that address there, the tiny URL / ep Cursillo serve will also take you to that site. Okay. All right. That's all from me, folks. Thank you for listening there. And what I'd like to do now is to take either questions or ideas that you have, that your secretariat or you personally have found useful. And if you're willing to share those now, that'd be great. If you come up with ones later on you think about, you can email them to me. And I did this. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot. I was going to have Sam put out a poll there asking how many people attended my presentation on 60 ideas in 60 minutes at the 2023. Here, Sam has posted it now. Oh, good. So if you respond to the poll there, that would be great. All right. Yeah, I was worried if it had been 90% people had seen my presentation, you would have been seeing a lot of the same stuff as before, but I figured we got a lot of new people there, and it gives them a chance to see some of the stuff that came up there. All right. So mostly, I'm gonna end the poll there, Sam. Oh, share results. Okay. So we had some repeaters and and we're probably most of the people in ECMC. All right, get rid of that here. All right, so let's, the way to do this is probably good, is to raise your hand because we have more people than we can handle, just people speaking out, I think. And let's see. Tim has raised his hand. So Tim, you want to go ahead and
Yeah.
unmute yourself? Yeah.
This is Tim here. Two things, and I may have missed something with this last 5 minutes, but if we can get the slide deck out to us, there was a lot to try and take notes on, etc. If we can get the slide deck out to the email list from the people that attended, these 60 some folks, and send that to them, that would be great, because I will share it with other leadership in the Twin Cities area. The other thing I have is one other idea that we've done here that I didn't see mentioned, and maybe I just missed it. But we set up something called a parish ambassador or church ambassador, and we try to get a Cursillo person in every church that is a contact person for a secretariat or for others if they want to come and talk about Cursillo at a given service or whatever. So I think it's a pretty useful thing. We have in the Twin Cities about 60 some people that do this around the entire Twin Cities area, and so it's useful and something we started about 10 years ago, and it's been pretty helpful in terms of at least getting some visibility. So yeah,
Good. That's what I was driving at in that Cursillo parish representative. The CPR person is the liaison between the congregation and the secretariat there.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great
Yep.
idea.
That's all I have.
Yeah. Let's see.
Can I jump in from New Zealand?
Yes.
We have changed the word sponsoring to companioning
Mhm.
because we feel that that encompasses more of what a sponsor is. A sponsor is a companion, and often sponsoring implies money, but that's not what it's about. It's about walking alongside the person who's going to do their Cursillo. So we've changed it to companioning, just throwing it out there.
Good. And has it had a positive impact, you think, on
It's the kind of the mindset of the sponsor that you're not there to pay, you're there to actually walk alongside. So it's fairly new, so we're still trialing how it's going. But generally I think it does give a better impression of what we are actually doing.
Okay. Oh, did I tell people how to raise hand, or if you want to raise your hand, you click on the little down at the bottom of your screen, probably there's a heart there, and it will raise a hand up. Hopefully somebody will see then. Or I don't know. Maybe just unmute yourself. I'm tempted to say anyone, but I don't want to say that.
There's a couple, Bob.
Good, yeah. Bob Cleworth in Wisconsin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just have something to say about music. I've been a musician on practically every weekend I've been on because everybody knows how hard it is to get musicians. And I use CCLI, but I also use YouTube videos and whatever to figure out the songs that are new to me. But I found with CCLI that they have a very extensive list of songs, not just the new songs, but there's a lot of the older songs in there too. And you can download the sheet music So it's easier to share that with people to learn. Now, you might not do it exactly like that sheet music says, and honest to God, I don't know a musician that does it exactly like the sheet music says, but it gives you a resource that's you can share easily to help people who are not familiar with those older songs.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of resources available at CCLI. All right. Thanks, Bob. Charlene.
I just wanted to say thank you, Kevin. If no one was commenting, I wanted to make sure because I mean, this is amazing. I really appreciate the use of technology here. I appreciate the thinking outside the box of how can we, you know, we are experiencing similar issues across the nation and beyond, as we have people on here from New Zealand. You know, how do we attract younger people? How do we make sure that our communities are thriving and going forward? And so, Kevin, I think you have, I know the Episcopal Cursillo ministry has been very active, but I think you personally have really made this happen. And I just really wanted to make sure that we thank you. So thank you. So.
Great. You're welcome. Hey, stay tuned because I have another set of 45 ideas for the national conference. All right, Don Apgar, what do you got?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So, question for the ECMC. Has there been an Episcopal diocese in the U.S. that has successfully restarted a Cursillo ministry after one has completely died out? So we have no secretariat here. We have no memory of anybody on Cursillo. And if so, is there a playbook that the ECMC can provide to build that, to restart that momentum? Because once the flame goes out, man, it's awfully hard to get it started again.
Bob, you want to do that?
Sure. Yeah, and so it's happened before. COVID was hard on some and passed out. Probably I think a good recent example was the Diocese of Georgia. We have some of those representatives here with us today. They got into a challenging situation where they thought that they were at the end, and they asked for help. And so I think that's probably the takeaway is, you know, ask for help, and we can help in a lot of ways. We can help in, for example, sending a team to work with a secretariat or the remnants of a secretariat to talk about, you know, what do we have and what can we build on? And I'll tell you that that usually starts with looking at fourth day life versus weekends, right? What can we restart in fourth day life before we start talking about weekends? And so it was a tremendous success.
I don't know how long it's been since we've had a secretariat in this diocese.
Yeah, but you probably have a handful of interested people, and we could start with that, right?
Well, that's hopefully.
Yeah. And so the good news, the success story there is within, I don't know, and one of the Georgia people could correct me, within a year and a half, they were back up on their feet and had a weekend with nearly 30 pilgrims, right?
Wow.
So, and certainly we thank the Lord for his hand in that, but you know, you can get help. Right now we're in a dialogue with some of the folks in the Diocese of Montana, trying to see what can we help with and help and encourage them, and what practical helps can we give them. We have experience, we have teams that can provide leadership and team formation for building a secretariat or restarting the fourth day, as well as we do have some resources. You know, secretariats can apply for grants and those kind of things to help them if they have a real need. So it's and that's what we want to do at ECMC. We want to be supportive, and gosh, restarting a ministry, that's you know, it's not like that's you can look at it a lot of ways, but that's easier to do than starting from scratch, right? Because at least we have some people that are passionate about Cursillo, and we can start with that. So we want to help, and we can, and so let us help if you're in that situation.
Well,
Anybody else on the team want to add?
I do. This is Rose, and I'm going to be in Indianapolis in about 10 days. Can we meet?
Sure. Well, caveat on that, Rose, is that the Diocese of Indianapolis right now is in discernment as far as recombining with the Diocese of Northern Indiana. And so that is on the bishop's front burner right at the moment, so to speak. So I don't know what the bishop's thoughts are on Cursillo. I have not approached the bishop or the canons yet on what their view of Cursillo is. And obviously, if the bishop is not a proponent, then that's going to create a lot of headwind for us. So love to meet with you, but it might be premature at this point.
Right. I was on that Georgia Cursillo when it was floundering, and I can say what saved us, and it may help you, is start planning a grand ultra to cover all the churches in your diocese, collect names and emails for now of everybody you know, and everybody that can then cast out and find more that have been to Cursillo, because there's your base. That's what you need. And have fun. Out of those, who plays, who sings, who would give a beautiful witness talk and plan a grand ultra. So I'll be praying for you, Don.
Thank you, Rose.
Yeah.
One thing that I would throw in is maybe start a Facebook group for Cursillistas. It's free, and it's a way for people to connect and just put the word out and say, hey, you know, this is available, and see who takes the bite on that.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Like I said, we're here to help. And gosh, restarting is, we've seen what the Lord did from what in Georgia. So we're trusting that, you know, he would act if we do our part, then he'll do his part. So great question.
I was going to add that one of the success stories coming out of Montana was it's important to have the support of the bishop. And the bishop there indicated a great interest in regenerating the Cursillo movement and helped fund a group of pilgrims and team leaders to come to the Los Angeles Diocese Women's Weekend. We hosted people at homes. We tried to keep the cost down as best we could. And we sent away candidates who had experienced Cursillo and team leaders from all around Montana. They went back with that experience. So it took the support of the bishop, and it took the support of a nearby diocese to kind of bring people on board. So they had the boots on the ground live experience, and they went back to Montana on fire.
Thank you, Nancy, for sharing it. And it's an example of how we can help each other, right? Maybe we have a neighbor or connections with another secretariat that we can get and help. There's a very recent, this week we learned that there's a clergy person from central New York that's going to help out on a Massachusetts weekend because they genuinely had a need to do it, right? And through the communication links and experiences at ECMC, we're able to tie people together. And so let's help each other, you know?
Hello? Can you hear me?
All right, actually, can I some people have their hands raised and they've had them for a while. Can I catch them first?
Yeah, I just can't see. You can't see me. That's all. Go ahead. Yes, do them.
Okay, so Ellen from Massachusetts.
Yes, well, I just wanted to affirm what Bob just said. It is our Cursillo weekend that was lacking a full-time priest. We had a priest who basically wanted only to do half-time because of health issues. And so I reached out to Bob Vaughn at National, and he came up with a name, and we now have a very committed priest who's going to be the primary spiritual director on our weekend. So thanks be to God, that's an enormous answer to prayer, and it's as a result of reaching out to National. So God used that in a beautiful way. The other reason...
Thank you for saying how committed I am, Ellen.
Oh, hi, Nick.
I'm here, but
Hi, it's nice
an
to
honor.
see you.
I'm honored to do it. We've had, I've been at one of their team meetings so far, and it's a great group of people. It's a nice, nice group. It's going to be fun.
Well, they are so grateful that you were there and to get a chance to know you. And the Lord has his hand all over that weekend. There's no question in my mind about that. The other reason why I raised my hand, though, is that we still don't have a music minister. And so I would like the name of the Facebook page for our Cursillo musicians to see whether or not I could put a help wanted ad up there or something. Does anybody know?
I have already done that, Ellen. In the Fourth Day Musicians Facebook group, I put an announcement there. We've only got 200 people.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll pray that somebody answers then.
Yeah. But if anybody here knows of a musician who might be interested and willing to travel to lovely Massachusetts.
Yes.
What's the dates again for your weekend?
The date is April 3rd to the 6th.
Okay.
And it's being held at La Salette Retreat Center, which is a beautiful retreat center in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. And we would welcome anybody.
So in addition to telling your musicians to sign up with the Facebook group, also tell them about the opportunity to go to Massachusetts and be part of the music for that weekend. They would be a godsend. All right.
Thank you.
Anne Gover from New Zealand. Whoops. You'll have to take yourself off mute, Anne. We can't hear you.
True. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this group. We actually had a 3-day Cursillo a weekend that we didn't have a musician, and we actually used YouTube music for the whole time, and that went very successfully. So don't discount using technology to actually have music.
Excellent. All right. Nancy Holland from San Diego.
Thank you. 2 shares and a question. We're a small congregation 2 years ago, mostly elderly people. And then all of a sudden we had several young people join us. And of course, the first question is, would you like to go to Cursillo? And the sponsorship responsibilities in our case were significant considering our size and the age of our congregation. So we put out this notion of a sponsorship collective, and that is anybody who would like to be or contribute in any way to supporting getting our candidates to and from and before and after was invited to participate. And so it gave people who couldn't drive an opportunity to use their gifts and other people their gifts. And so collectively, we sponsored 4 candidates last year and 3 this year. And so it's worked well for us, and we're grateful for that experience. The second piece I wanted to share with you is our bishop was a candidate at our last weekend. She sat at a table. She participated at a candidate, and she was she did preside at the open clausura, but that's after she said, "Here I am, Lord, send me." So that was very exciting for all of us. And it was an opportunity for candidates to connect with their bishop. They wouldn't have another opportunity like that. It would be highly unlikely. My question to all of you is, for our experiences, it's a very tight weekend. It's go, 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 go. And you have a chance to eat a meal or try to eat a meal and take a breath, and it's difficult. And in this 21st century, we have a tendency to say, wait a minute, slow down, take a breath, stretch out, go for a little walk. And I wonder if any of you have used any of those techniques to kind of break up what I would consider the grueliness of the weekend.
I will just say yes. At my weekend, I tried to make sure that we had downtime where people had just had a chance to talk. I've been reading a lot of the literature by Eduardo Bonin, who's sort of the founder of Cursillo, basically. And his emphasis really was on this is an opportunity for people to form friendships. friendships with God, you know, primarily, but also with each other. And that often, and for the team to form relationships with the pilgrims who are attending. And that takes time. He talks about hallway work, where people are just sort of hanging out and talking to get to know each other, that I think may have gotten lost in hearing, oh, well, they do this over here, or I did this, or wouldn't it be good if we did this here, and all of a sudden you've got a very tightly scheduled weekend. So yeah, think about making sure that there is downtime in there for people to rest.
Yeah, I would add that on the last Cursillo weekend I led in the Diocese of Long Island, we made a point of trying to deschedule some of it, because if you have folks who are candidates or pilgrims, as also known, who are introverted, introverts require time to digest and process. So you throw a lot of information, and especially the first day, 5 Royos and everything is bing, 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 everything's all brand new. And so people need time to kind of relax and kind of let it soak in, so to speak. And if you have too much scheduled time, people just leave and they're frazzled.
Good point.
And here in Eastern Oregon, we have an aging population, and what we have moved to help them is to ask them to come for short time periods, not always be there for the whole weekend, which is too hard for them. And in doing so, we have a lot of our older team members and past Cursillistas coming back to help us, doing just one short thing, and letting the main teams rest a little in between. And so that's been successful and continues to be for us.
Thanks, Kai. Diane Carey has her hand raised. There you go.
Yes. One thing that hasn't been brought up is financing for the weekend. And with all centers getting more expensive these days, and I think probably everybody is finding this after Cursillo, how do you make enough money to sponsor enough candidates to come? So one of the things that we've done is we've had a fiesta evening at the church where we do Mexican food, we have some Mexican music going, all sorts of activities. Maybe you'll have a piñata going, and we charge for the dinner, $25 or $30, depending on where it is. And all of that money goes in to help finance the Cursistas for the next event.
Diane, is that done on a congregation basis, or is it the whole Secretariat all goes to one church?
Well, our diocese is on Vancouver Island, everywhere on Vancouver Island. So we make it available to anyone on Vancouver Island to come to that particular event. And if people are coming from far away, some people offer up their homes for a place for them to stay for the evening. And it works out really well. We've had quite a few of our candidates maybe not get fully paid for, but maybe half paid for, which really helps if you're going to sponsor a new candidate. Just an idea.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Who else? Good. Well, darn. Kenneth Barnett. You unmute yourself, Kenneth. We'll are you able to do that? Can you unmute yourself there, Kenneth? And we'll get your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say thank you I got a lot of good information here today because we have a men's Cursillo weekend coming up in July. And I think I got a lot of good information here that we can share at meetings. And I just want to say thank you for all this, for all you do, and say you have doing a good job. I think this is my second time listening to you. And so I thank you, and I thank each and every one that for the ideas that because it give us better idea, understanding how to make the weekend a more productive and more spiritual.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much. Good to hear. All right. Karen and Brian Niagara have a hand raised. Wait.
Yeah, I'd be interested on how many diocesan movements have actually moved from starting on the Thursday night to the Friday night. We have done that here, and the issue of having some time available for candidates to kind of just take some time to rest and absorb what's happened has become extremely tight. And I just wondered if other dioceses are doing the same thing.
The answer is yes. There are people who are doing Friday. Some come Friday during the day. Some come Friday evening. It is tight. I know in Oregon we did one, and the kitchen crew said it almost killed them. I don't know who's doing a Friday through Sunday. Is there anybody in attendance who's doing the shortened?
We're doing in Central New York anyway. We're doing Friday through Sunday, and we found it. We've done, I think, 2 now. I know I was there for the last one last year, but I think they did one the year before as well. I think it worked out all right. You're right. The time does become tighter. I think what we were able to exclude were things that were more, local customaries for us, skits and things which we had added in anyway.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sorry to see those go because some of those things were fun things. There are some things that I'd like to add back in or would like to add in. For example, having some time for people to absorb and make friends and just relax. I've always thought having a tea time would be a really good idea, sometime around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Just, let people sit around and have something to focus on, but yet be able to relax. But so far the 2-night weekend has worked out okay for us.
Was the reason for dropping the Thursday evening start to accommodate people who couldn't take the Fridays off work?
Right. That was the initial theory.
Yeah, that was our thinking here. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And the 2-income family is a lot more prevalent than it used to be, and so it's not only the extra day, but it's finding for the other spouse to arrange for childcare and stuff like that. It's a stress.
All right. I'm noticing it's now 1/4 the hour, which I think is the time that we said about 75 minutes for this. So I don't want to be going past. I'm willing to stay on if people want to stay on. If people want to drop off and go have the rest of your Saturday or Sunday, depending on where you are. Thank you all for coming. It was a blast doing this. And like I say, come to the national conference. Oh, you're going to get an Sam? Will the evaluation, we'd ask everybody to complete a short evaluation on the weekend. Sam, how are they going to access that?
Yeah, so after the session is over, you're going to receive a survey. Please take your time to answer the questions. That would really help us.
An email, right, Sam?
Yes, correct.
I do have a question. I'm sorry. You can't see me. I don't know where my picture went. I wanted to know a little bit about 4th day meetings. Ours are kind of bland. Same old, we have barbecue and witness talk or 2 and some music. Is there anything that can be done to liven that up or change it to where we can get more interest? Don't all talk at once.
This is Janelle Marsh from the Diocese of Alabama. At our Ultrea with our parish, we were not getting the numbers for the Ultreas that we wanted, and for welcome backs when people had gone. So we moved from having them at the church to having them in people's homes. And we had some historic homes that we kind of put first on the agenda, and just moving them to the homes increased the numbers. The other thing is, instead of having a cover dish supper, those usually are held during the week, and so people couldn't get their cover dish, so they wouldn't come. And so we decided that we just took up a little collection. You just brought in $10 and paid for something that we brought in, and that relieved the pressure of having to bring something to in order to come. People feel if they can't bring something, they won't come, and that increased our numbers as well.
Are there any activities that people do?
Palanca, we've done placemats or things that are going to be used at the weekend. People in our parish love music, so just including more music, it gets people involved too.
Thank you.
One thing that this may sound strange, but in our congregation, we just started having a parish Ultrea. Most of the time, Ultreas that I've been familiar with have been done on sort of a secretariat-wide basis, which meant a lot of people had to do a lot of traveling because Oregon is a big place. And oftentimes turnout was not very good. So I said, why don't we just do one after our Sunday service? And we go into the chapel area, and I bring my guitar, and somebody gives a lay witness talk, and we do a floating group reunion there. And because people are there, it's easy to do. We probably get the same turnout that we do sometimes at a Secretariat diocesan-wide Ultrea. And actually, when Cursillo was starting up, that was sort of the model. You would have, the group reunion going on of 4 or 6 people in their group reunion meeting on Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. And then in that congregation, there would be an Ultrea that week. Each week there would be one for all of the group reunions to come together.
We found the same thing years ago. Parish Ultreas worked so much better, and now in Columbia, and I know Mike Talley knows this guy, but we have somebody who brought the Methodists into it, and so we're doing joint Ultreas, or trying to. We're not there yet, but we're trying to. And it's just, and like you say, when people are already there, and anybody comes to an Ultrea, we don't, anybody.
Kevin.
Right.
I am the communications officer for the Cursillo community of Eastern Oregon. And one of the things that we did was we started a Zoom 4th day meeting because we are so wide and spread out, people can't travel. So I host once a month a meeting with ladies and men, whoever wants to join in, all over Eastern Oregon. And that's working well for us, and for helping with those who don't have an immediate community to have those meetings.
I'm in 2 of those myself, so I should have said that's a possibility as well, for have a Zoom group reunion.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a help. Oh, I'm Nancy from Williamsburg, Virginia, Diocese of Southern Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. On behalf of the entire Episcopal Cursillo Ministry Committee. Right. You're welcome.
Committee included.
Yeah. All right.
Hello, this is Jane Nielsen, and I am from the Diocese of Texas, Southeast Convocation. And I have one question.
Sure.
Is there an outline of what can be discussed or what should be discussed at team meetings? We had one in the past, many years ago, that I know was in the, I think the manual that we had, but it's been many years since then, and we have some new people that are forming teams, and there doesn't seem to be a consistency on the things that need to be covered in each week. Say you had 4 or 5 team meetings. Is there some outline that that's in place that would help?
I'm going to open this up to the field. I don't know if a national sort of template for what meetings ought to consist of. Is anybody familiar with something like that? Or do you have something that you kind of say, all right, the first meeting, this will be covered, and the second meeting, this will be covered? I think one of the issues is that different places have different numbers of meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Before,
Yeah.
there are places that will have 6 or 7 team meetings before a weekend. There are other places that have 1. I know the Walk to Emmaus in Oregon has 1 joint all-team meeting, but I think they do a lot of stuff in sub-teams. I
Kevin,
don't, one is may
here-
not be enough. But does anybody know any template for meetings?
Yeah, Kevin, here in Southeast Florida, we have we created manuals for trainings and meetings and so forth. So each weekend they follow the same structure. So we're all on the same kind of like, the same track. So that goes back to the Secretariat of that diocese. I mean, that's how we basically treat it.
So they created, here's the manual for, this is what happens at the first team meeting. Here's what happens at the second team meeting, third team meeting.
Correct.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
That's what my main concern is, because we had gotten, some of our teams are getting away from covering the things that really need to be covered because there's not an outline that we have given them. There are some of us that remember how it was, but we're, remembering is kind of difficult in putting it together. So I was hoping that maybe there was something that was in place that would give an outline of what should be covered in various team meetings.
Sam, would Southeast Florida be willing to make that available, share that, post it somewhere where it could be accessed?
Yeah, I can share a sample. I have to go back to basically the Secretariat and ask permission. So,
Right. Well, that would be most appreciated if you could do that.
sure.
In Eastern
how-
Oregon, we don't have an outline per se, but what we have been moving to that we find very useful because we are so widely spread across the state, we have 2 team meetings we ask our team members to attend, and then the team leaders communicate with their team via Zoom meetings, which I host or they host, depending on, if they have a license. We also use our Cursillo license to allow the team leads to host meetings with their team members. And then we communicate with them regularly through our email server, and we use Constant Contact. And I have a team list created, and then the team leaders can communicate with everybody at once via those 2 ways. So
it's wonderful to be able to do that. I mainly the idea of being consistent. Our teams, each Cursillo needs to be consistent in what is covered. And if you leave it open to not having an outline of such, you can vary from it during the team meeting. But if we had some outline that we could give them, so we make sure that they cover the proper things, so that things that need to be included in the team training, that would be helpful.
Right. Maybe National needs to put that on our to-do list. although the last thing, we don't want to be laying mandates upon people. We're not the Cursillo police. We're to support, to regulate. So
Right. And this would be a support. It's not, mandated. It's giving an idea of these are the things that you may consider to include in your team meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a place perhaps where people could share how they structure their team meetings and as best practices, and a folder that they could be put in that would be available to people? And that would maybe provide extra resources and also not necessarily put it on the national group to be responsible for coming up with the ideal.
Sam, what possibilities might be there if we wanted to have something like that?
So yeah, I mean, that can be added on our tips and hints on our website. Now we need a feedback from the other secretariats around. How do you? I mean, we do it here in Southeast Florida. That works for us, but I'm not sure if it would work for everybody else.
Right. Right.
So if anyone else has, like created some type of meeting, kind of like a guide for the Cursillo weekends, we would love to have that shared with us in order to kind of like, have multiple samples, because you don't want to just follow what Southeast Florida is doing.
Yeah.
And again, we do our long weekends. We do it, we start from Thursday evening all the way to Sunday. So that might not apply to other dioceses that they're doing the short Cursillo weekends as well. So
Now, ours is the long Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
So I kind of like to ask this question because, the responsibilities of each team is written up in our bylaws. And then we have team notebooks that lay out everything that needs to be done for our long weekend. Is that not the way other people operate? Is that new or different?
Guide, you guys, I think, have one of the most thorough, I've seen your guide, and you have one of the most thorough ones that I have encountered. So yeah, you're kind of state of the art there, I think, what I've seen.
Well, if people put out ideas on how they do things, then others can look and choose what might work for them.
I tell you what if you have a guide to how you do your training, this is typically what happens at the first meeting, at the second meeting, et cetera, like that. Email them to me, all right? And I'll figure out some way that we can make these available to people who want to look at what other people are doing, all right? So again, my email is the letter K dot Mallon, M like in Meriwether, ALLON, at frontier.com. I'll put that in the chat just so you can see it there. Yeah, if you've got something that would be helpful to people who are trying to figure out what ought to go on at a meeting, send it to me and we'll figure out something. Yeah, I have thought the same myself at times. Like, I don't know what exactly is supposed to happen here, because in Oregon we don't have something like that. Western Oregon. So I sort of stumbled through what ought to happen at the meetings for my weekend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your help.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Now it's the bottom of the hour. Or not, is that right? Yeah, the bottom of the hour. More questions or comments or additions here? I think this is kind of great. This worked out pretty much exactly how I hoped it would. So that's I'm very pleased with that. Well, hearing no further objections or comments, how about we end it up here? I'll close this out with a little prayer, and you will be receiving in email a copy of the PowerPoint slides. You will also be receiving an evaluation, kind of so to give us some feedback on how it went for you here today, and keep the k.mallon@frontier.com if you have a guideline for what your training schedule is like, and send it to me and we'll figure out how to make that available. Okay.
Will we also get a copy of the comments that people made?
Like the chat, or what people have said just now?
What people have said after your presentation?
You know, I think because we had AI operating, I think it will provide us a summary that includes those. Am I correct, Sam?
Correct. That's right.
Okay,
we have
good.
to clean up though.
So in
Great.
addition to the slides, you'll also get what artificial intelligence found, if anything, that was intelligent in what happened and what I said today, and the comments of everybody else there.
That's great because I take crummy notes.
All right, so I'm going to close this out with some prayer here. Lord God, we thank you greatly for this amazing world and the amazing technology that we have available to us to gather people from literally around the world to share ideas about Cursillo, Walk to Emmaus, Kairos, these ministries that have had such a profound effect on people's lives, and that we may be the instruments who help facilitate the additional lives being impacted by all this. Lord, help us to do what you want us to do. So for all this, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Watch your email.